And we are rolling.
Rolling.
Welcome back to the Centered Podcast. Today, I have a good friend of mine, Chase Whittington.
What up? What up?
Super excited to have you on. I know it's fine. It's going to be great. It's great. This is super, super chill. We have everyone sitting in this room right now has been on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We have Nate behind the camera. We got Hudson and we've got Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them has been on the podcast.
They're going crazy right now.
So crazy.
Uh-huh.
Wow. But I'm very excited to have you on, and it's
Dude,
going to be an awesome episode.
This is so cool. My heart is racing right
Hey,
now.
it's normal. It's normal. Surprisingly, mine's not anymore.
Really?
It used to like
You're
every
such a
episode,
natural.
but now no,
Mm-hmm.
no. I'm still
You're like
pretty
a
bad.
veteran to this kind of thing. Like been here, done that. Like, let's start
Welcome
the show.
To episode 9. Wow, almost 10 episodes in.
That's
I'm so
crazy.
excited that you're here.
That's crazy.
So, Chase.
Yeah.
How long have we been friends for? Sorry, that's a big question because I don't even know the answer.
Big question.
Feels like I've known
I
you
think
for
that
so
I've
much
known,
longer.
Yeah, I've known of you,
Right.
but I don't know if we've linked or anything like that until like maybe a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've known of you from like
Catlin.
Yeah, and then just being around in the college ministry and volunteering, I've seen you, but
Yeah.
like never like.
And it turns out we are more
We're best friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys.
Nice.
Jackson's like, what the heck?
Uh-huh.
No, we turned out to that we're very similar, and we get along very well, and it's very cool to see. So
chemistry is really, really cool.
There's certain things that I want to talk about with you on this episode, and it is touching on the digital detox, which is, as anyone who's listened to the prior episodes has heard of, that we're doing at our church.
For sure.
And also, we want to talk about mission. What's the word I'm looking for?
Mission trip.
Mission trips. Thank you.
Got you.
And then also talking about the trip that you just came back from.
Yeah, a
Super
lot of
exciting
stuff to dive into.
Yeah, and
This
I'm
is gonna
super
be cool.
excited too. So, talking about the mission trips first. Let's do that first.
Okay.
So, mission trips.
Sounds good.
What did you want to talk about?
I just wanted to know what your thoughts were going into it. Why? Because this is like the first time that Catlin and Maggie. I don't know if they know Catlin and Maggie, but
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Well, I don't know. The two of the people that run the college ministry at our church. It's the first time they like sat down and actually like prayed about it, or like they prayed about it before, but like having a list of like, okay, should these people go? What's best? Like not like a VIP type thing, but like, is this best for their walk in Christ right now? And so, they did that and they challenged us to do the exact same thing. And I just wanted to know, is your first time, I don't know if it was your first time applying for a mission trip or first time going.
First time ever.
And I wanted to know how that was for you, and also talking about it with me, and then just different experiences, what we're expecting, and just covering everything that we want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about that. It was honestly really nerve-wracking for me.
Oh, really?
Because this is my first mission trip.
Uh-huh.
Never done anything like this before. And I think I've served before.
For sure.
It hasn't been as great as like a mission trip. However,
great's a weird word to say about that.
Great?
Like it's all great.
It is all great. At least that's what I've heard.
Like the grand scheme of going somewhere else and serving in a new place.
Right.
For sure.
Yep.
I get that.
And I honestly, the last meeting that we had, the part that was making me kind of about was the asking for support.
Yeah.
Especially financially, because finance is a very touchy thing in today's society. And so
for sure,
there's just something about asking people for money to go on this mission trip that just makes me I'll just want to pay for the entire thing myself and just not have to ask people for money, because I just don't like asking people for money. It's just
for sure
something
and that's
weird
how it is
about
for
it.
me too. Like the first time I went to the New York mission trip, I paid for it all myself.
Right.
Even though they were all like, they were still like wanting us to like raise money and raise support and stuff like that. And I was like, bump that. I'm good. I got
the money to
with
spend.
That. Yeah, exactly. I am rolling.
Yeah.
I'm not actually rolling. I just didn't want to talk to people.
It's okay. Same.
But yeah. And then when I went to the DR in February, March, that was the first time that I was like, okay, like this is something that has to happen. And if I'm going to like live the Christian way that Jesus talks about, I need to surrender my pride when it comes to financial situations.
That's true.
And I didn't like go fully all in. I raised like, it was like $1,800 that we had to raise per person.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, for sure. And I did like a little bit. Like I did like a couple hundred.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like it was a good first step, and thankfully there was a lot of other people that raised more money, and then we like partnered with like Taziki's, and you could cater that, and then part of the proceeds would go to Church of the City, and so just a lot of stuff that a lot of extra stuff that was able to help out for my shortcomings.
Yeah.
And I really felt like this is the time where we're going all in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually so nervous about it. On Sunday, I like went up after the service, and I was like, you gotta pray for me. Like this
Right.
is a huge deal for me." Asking people about like financial situations
Mm-hmm.
and asking for their support. Like support for like prayer is like fine because it's like the ball's in their court.
Right.
And it's not really like I don't see maybe as much of an investment,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, as like or like a tangible investment as like money is, because money is like basically nowadays what runs our society.
Yep.
And it dictates your time, where you live, who you talk to, where you talk to them.
Everything.
And yeah,
Anything
exactly.
and everything.
And so it's just like crucial that especially nowadays that we surrender that to the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't like doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's been something that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's going to work out or what's going to happen, but we'll see. And
Right.
God works in miraculous ways, and we've seen it before, so we're going to see him do it today.
Absolutely. And I mean, I even told you the story of the Mac Mini that I got. And so for those of you watching and listening, I pretty much I had a Windows laptop. I still do. I use it for mostly emails now and other things like that.
You're
but
so busy.
Stop.
You're so important.
You're too much. You're my favorite. Chase and I are good friends, as you can tell. Guys, you guys are my favorite too. Like, I love all of you equally, just like how Jesus loves us all equally. Hey, that's cap. Anyway, so back to the Mac Mini story. This is why I don't have an audience. I love you guys. So I needed a Mac Mini. I was using a Windows laptop. I couldn't edit on that for the life of me. And it was because as soon as I went to my editor, what I use, the Windows laptop just went and just like the fan was just like it was really bad. It got really hot in like the 5 seconds that I was using it, and I realized I need something else. But I can't spend $2,000 on a MacBook, and these are so expensive. And so I was for those of you who I think I've mentioned this before, but more than half the things that I use on this podcast, I've gotten either for free or God provided it in some miraculous way.
That's crazy.
And so I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, "Mom, I can't spend $2,600 on a MacBook.
For sure.
Like, I can't. I don't have the money for this right now." And she was like, "Why don't you just pray about it? God's provided all this stuff so far. Why don't you just pray about it? Like, He'll provide again." And I don't know why I had so much doubt in that moment. I was like, "This is like such a specific." And what's cool about this was after the Sunday that Darren, who's our head pastor, Darren was preaching about praying about specific things and how maybe the reason why we're not praying for specific things is because we don't have the faith that whatever it is we're asking for very specifically, God will provide for.
For sure.
And so after that, Mom was like, "Why don't you just pray for it? Like specifically pray for it." And I said, "Okay." And so I prayed about it, and I said, "God, please provide me not just with a MacBook, but something that can help me edit these videos because I'm about to start the podcast. I can't edit on the software I'm using right now. I need something else. So Lord, please provide me with a way that I can do that." I go into work that afternoon. This was like 30 minutes before I went to work. And I walk in, and one of my friends comes up to me and he says, "Hey, I heard about what you're doing with the podcast. I have this Mac Mini that I bought back in 2021 that I don't use. I want to give it to you for free." And in that moment, I was like,
sick. You're just like, okay, this is actually happening.
I was like, "Okay, God, I get it. Like, you're amazing." And he finds my lack of faith disturbing. So it was just like, it was such a great time because I realized, oh wow, like God can provide when I pray for specific things. And so even now that I'm telling this story, I know I shouldn't have that fear that God won't provide for this mission trip because I know that He will if this is truly something He wants me to do. However, it's still scary, and I think God calls us to do a lot of scary things. Like following Jesus is not comfortable.
For
I
sure.
don't care what Christian tells you it's comfortable. It's not comfortable at all. The disciples did not live comfortable lives. So, but it's what we're called to do.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the uncomfortable things that God calls us to do, the things that are behind that uncomfortable moment when you do them, is just so amazing. And I was talking to Evan, my last guest. Well,
Shout
actually,
out
it
Evan.
was two guests ago.
Okay.
Hudson was my last guest.
Shout out Hudson.
Shout out Hudson and Evan. Love those two.
And
I was talking to them about this, and Evan was saying that I just lost my train of thought. Oh no.
Oh no.
I'm sorry.
Do you want me to start talking? Because I can talk while you're thinking.
Sure.
I think that it's cool, and it's easier to just doing it all together. Like, you're not raising $1,000 just by yourself.
Right.
You're raising $1,000 with 8 other people that are still like pursuing God and trying to live out the life that he's wanted them to do. And also, I think that it's super crucial to keep on reminding yourself that you, whenever you prayed about it, like, heard God's confirmation. He was like, yeah, you need to do this, because that's what happened with me too.
Yeah.
And then so with every single person, he perfectly and intricately designed this group of people. And then there's no way he's gonna like put these people together and be like, oh, they're not gonna
Good
go.
luck.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Yeah.
fine. They're not gonna go. And it's a good group, but I don't really feel like it. Like, that's just not the God that I serve.
Right.
And so he's definitely going to supply every need that you have as far as this goes. And it's going to be fantastic. And I can't wait to hear about how he turns up in your life and what he does in mine too, because it's going to be crazy.
I appreciate that word of encouragement, especially coming from you, because I know you've done this before. And thank you for talking, because now I remember what I was talking about. Yes.
All
So
right.
going back to the uncomfortable things that God calls us to do, I was talking with Evan about this, and Evan was saying that praying over people is something that makes him extremely uncomfortable, especially in large crowds. Like, he does not like praying in large crowds. It's not like he doesn't like praying over people. It's just that praying can be very scary sometimes. And I remember one of my good friends came into my coffee shop where I work, and she was dealing with some things, and she just needed someone to be there for her.
Yeah.
And I remember just walking up and just asking how she was doing, and she just kind of laid everything out. And I had two options there. I could have just said, "Oh man, I'll be praying for you," and then go back to my work, or I could say, "Let me pray for you." And I chose to do the second one, which is very uncomfortable. And I said, "Yeah, like, can I pray over you?" But in the moment, it was a little bit uncomfortable for me, because I was like, I don't do this ever.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
I was in that moment, I was also so eager to see what God could do if I pray over her in the situation. And
What did you do?
I'm about to tell you.
Oh, okay.
I prayed over her. Okay. I prayed over her, and she started crying, and it was such a powerful moment. And I think it was definitely that obedience that I think God found favor in,
For
because
sure.
the thing that I prayed over, it's just complete 180. Like,
For sure. Yeah.
I heard you laugh. Not 360, 180, complete 180
Yeah.
in the situation. And I hear about it now, and I just think, wow, God is so good. Just completely switched what was going on in that situation. And so oftentimes the thing that's behind the uncomfortable feeling is so worth it.
For sure.
And you just got to do it. But what is that? Sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
You're
No?
good.
Cool.
I was, but you can keep on talking if you want to.
I don't want to keep on talking.
Okay,
I want to
great.
hear you talk.
I was gonna say that it's not just like the financial thing that's going to test you and that's tested me. It's also whenever we are in New York and the situations that you're put in where they're like, okay, go talk to people. And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't want to. I don't think that I'm good enough for it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I have for them. I'm going to be here for a week and then leave. And so what kind of impact can I have in their life? And so it's going to be it was definitely difficult my first time. It was yeah, it just was not easy. Just already struggling with like confidence and me being there for the right reasons and wanting God to use me, but being too scared to put myself in the situations for God to use me. And so just little nudges from Catlin, our college pastor, and then he was like, "All right, I'm gonna take your spot. You can go talk to people." And I'm just like walking around, and I was like, "I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
This is nerve-wracking."
Right.
But it was actually like super cool, and I talked to this guy, and like a veteran, and I've by the way, those stories kill me of like veterans that like serve
The
and like
country.
yeah, exactly, like give up their entire lives to come back, and like they just have no skills. And this is what happened with him. He just didn't have any skills of like working
Mm.
or knowledge of like anything here.
Mm.
He just knew how to serve the country and like shoot people.
Right.
And so whenever he came back, he was like, I don't know how to do something. And then there was so much trauma from him as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just ended up on the streets.
That's really hard.
And thankfully, because the people that were going to be with City Relief have been doing this for since like the 60s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been able to lean on them heavily. And so he like, it was really cool while I was talking to him. The other people that we were volunteering with came up and like talked to him, knew him by name. He knew them by name. And then it was just really cool seeing like the culture of, and it helped me as well. The culture of just like, I don't know if I can fully help you out, but whatever I do have right now, it's yours.
Yeah.
And that was super cool.
That
And
is
just
cool.
like the people that do this every single day for a living, it's easier for them because they do it for a living and they've been able to see it.
Right.
But if they're able to step in with that confidence every single day, what's stopping me from doing it for 3 days,
It's true.
4 days maybe?
It's true.
And it's just like it
Mm-hmm.
was crazy. The conversation that I got, I felt so full coming back from it. Not like that we talked about anything like super theologically sound or philosophical, but it was
Right.
just like casual talk. And then I got to learn more about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to pray for him at the end. And it was just like, that was so filling.
Yeah.
And you just got a little glimpse of what it was like to put yourself in a position where God can fully use you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so rewarding.
Right. And
And
God can work in any conversation, even if it's not about him. I
for
mean,
sure.
God can work in people's attitudes, in the
Mhm.
things that they talk about,
For
like the
sure.
way they talk. Like God can work in so many different ways. And so it's cool to hear that you got filled up from that. I definitely experienced that when I had one of my good friends come on the podcast.
Mhm.
It gets confusing. I have 3 friends named Jaden. Okay.
Mhm.
Jaden no, Jaden A was the first guest.
Yeah.
And then Jaden P was the 4th guest, I believe.
Okay.
So when I had Jaden on,
Third Jaden? We don't talk about the third Jaden.
well, maybe he was the 5th one. Gosh. Anyway, third Jaden hasn't been on yet.
Mm.
So Jaden P
Fourth
was
guest?
was on.
Fifth guest?
Yep.
5?
5th guest, I think. It's a lot. So he came on, and after that conversation, I felt so full because I was carrying a lot
Mhm.
over the weeks when I first started recording and
For
actually
sure.
doing this podcast, because I was just learning how to do it. I was so concerned with who was watching and listening that I didn't fully focus on the guest and
Mhm.
what they were saying, and I was just trying to make sure everything was good. And while we were talking, he was just bringing up some things, and the story is actually really cool. We didn't have time that week to come together and discuss what we were going to talk about,
Okay.
and I mean, we haven't really either. And that's
Mm-mm.
honestly, those are the conversations I think are the coolest, because God
Mhm.
really shows up in
For
those.
sure.
But we didn't have any time that week to talk about what we were going to talk about on the podcast,
Okay.
and we came together and just started talking about rest. And we both had a history that wasn't the best with rest, because we were confused by what it was, how we were supposed to rest. We had other people influencing us, telling us how we should rest. Like we didn't know what rest really was,
For sure.
and God totally just brought it up in the conversation, and we just started talking about it, and the weight that was lifted off of me, it brought in other conversations and other topics,
Mhm.
and it just was so full for me, and I just felt so filled up,
That's
and
so
I could tell
sick.
that the Lord was saying, Garth, you don't have to be like, you don't have to worry about it. I got you. Like,
For
this
sure.
podcast that you're doing, I got you.
Mhm.
It's not what you're doing. It's what I'm doing.
That's so cool.
And yeah, it was really cool.
I love that for you. What are
Yeah.
you most excited for coming on the mission trip?
Ooh. I'm excited to grow. I'm
Okay.
excited to take that next step in my faith,
Mhm.
because I grew up Christian and recently rededicated my life to the Lord, And I've been praying
That was
over
awesome.
people. Thank you. I've been praying over people. I've been reading my Bible more. I've been finding new ways of worship, like all these new things. And I feel like now is the time that God's saying, okay, now I'm actually going to take you one step further.
For sure.
And you're going to start reaching people just like the disciples did. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
For sure.
But I know that God is taking me one step at a time, and I know he has good plans for me. However, it is still pretty scary, and it's going to be the next step in my faith, and
For sure.
and I'm really, really excited.
A lot of them are not easy, but it's just so rewarding.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's the main reason of what I'm expecting from the mission trip is to just grow in my faith and take that next step in my faith, and I'm wanting to know God more through that, and I'm wanting to just grow in the faith however that looks.
For sure.
But to switch gears a little bit, as everyone knows, we're doing a digital detox.
We are detoxing.
Which in this room, just show of hands, who's participating in the digital detox? Okay, somewhat. Yeah, okay. So we're all participating in it, and obviously I want to hear from you right now. How has that been?
It's been different. It has been the most, I said this on the second day, this has been the most inconveniencing thing that I've ever had. The light phone is...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Chase is the only one in this room with a light phone.
Yeah.
We just made our iPhones dumb. He actually got a light phone, which is, for those of you who don't know, can only call and text.
I got it for free. I didn't buy it, though, because I'm on staff.
Oh,
but
right. Wow. See, I didn't want to pay $300 for it.
Yeah, it's really expensive. I wouldn't have paid for it either.
Yeah. Anyway, continue. So, light phone.
Yeah, it's just the slowest thing that I've ever had in my life. And yeah, it's just crazy. I'll look at it and I'll get on my phone, realize I have nothing, and then start like looking at the different like 3 apps that I have, trying to see if there is something that just magically showed up, knowing there isn't going to be anything, but just like praying.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I guess that there's nothing, like I originally thought there was going to be nothing.
Yeah.
Guess I'll just sit here and do nothing. And it's just so weird, like not having music on. I'm listening to like one podcast a week, which is like...
Is it the Center Podcast?
It's not the Center Podcast.
It's okay. I understand. Ooh. It's okay. I understand.
I didn't want to get nervous. I didn't want to compare myself to other people before this.
I understand.
Because Jackson did a really good job. I'm assuming. I didn't watch it, remember?
That's funny.
But yeah, it's been crazy. I had to get like an actual like alarm clock because I didn't want to use the alarm clock on here.
Yes.
And it's just like crazy.
Dude,
I know.
Alarm clocks suck.
It's wild. It is
not. I bought one. It's the worst thing. It's black and white.
Okay.
And it has a little metal thing in the middle, and it hits the bells back and forth whenever it goes off.
The worst.
It's the loudest, most obnoxious thing ever. It scares me out of bed. I wake up screaming. Like I'm sleeping, and then it goes off. Just, like all of a sudden I launch out of bed, and the thing that I do is sometimes whenever I have my phone, my phone's next to me when I'm sleeping, so I just hit snooze and then go back to bed. I put this thing across the room, and it still scares me. So I shoot up out of bed, and I book it towards the other side of my room just to turn it off. So by the time that I'm just standing in the middle of my room, there's alarm clock's no longer going. I'm just like I'm not going. Yeah, I'm sweating. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going back to bed. I guess I'll get up.
I'm awake now. Yeah. I guess this is when my day starts.
And it's the most irritating thing, but yeah, it helps me get out of bed than the iPhone ever did.
For
you know what I mean?
And it's nice that like I don't have to be on my phone and like turn it off, and I'm like, oh, I'm already here. Might as well just waste an hour and a half of my life doing nothing.
Yeah, and I get ready so much faster because I don't have social media. And the funny thing is, I just made my iPhone dumb.
For sure.
But I do the exact same thing you were describing. Is I go on my phone. I even found myself scrolling through my old pictures because I just don't know what to do with myself. Like I can't go on Instagram. I can't go on any other social media. So I'm like, what am I gonna waste my time on? I guess I'm just gonna look at old photos, and then I get bored of that in like 2 minutes. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and you think that you'd be like, you think you would be like feel left out by like not having social media,
right?
And like the texting and calling is so not great,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just really hard to communicate with people on the
Mm-hmm.
phone.
Yeah.
And so it's just not great. And you'd think that you would be like you'd feel a lot of FOMO, but honestly, like I
No.
don't.
No.
I feel almost more close to the people that I want to be close with.
Yes.
And the people that I don't, that I like follow on Instagram. First off, whenever I like 2 days before, I was on Instagram and I was like, I don't really care about these people that I'm following, or I haven't seen
Yeah.
these people, or this is just distracting. Unfollowed like 500 people. I have like 750 followers,
Oh
but like
my
I'm following like
goodness.
130 people. And it's just like, it was so crazy. I
Am I
would
one of
eventually
them?
just get to the point and it would have like little Instagram. Yeah, of course you're one of them. And then it would say the thing that like, you're all done. You found everything. And I was like, I've never seen that before. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's like, it's just so different. And
Yeah.
then I stopped looking at reels as much as I wanted to do.
Yep.
And this was 2 days before, like me mentally preparing for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the shut off on Monday. And I was like, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best. And have these perks always been here? And just like stuff like
Yeah.
that, where I'm like, wow, that person looks a lot like my old high school music teacher.
Yeah.
And so just like random things that'll pop into my head and just like thinking,
Makes you
which
just more
is
aware of your surroundings.
for sure.
Yeah. And you said something that caught my attention that I wanted to speak on.
Mm.
And it was about the friends.
Mhm.
So since the detox, we have gone out and played wiffle ball at Jenny's. I've mentioned this.
Okay.
We went again last week.
Mm-hmm.
The sprinklers were on, which, can I just rant for a minute?
Go
They
ahead.
have fake grass.
Go
Why
off,
do they
Queen.
need sprinklers at Jenny's? It's fake grass. So anyway, so the sprinklers came on,
Uh-huh.
and I look over at Jackson, I look over at Evan, and I say, "Are we still doing this?" And they go, "Yeah, we're still doing this." And so
That's sick.
we set up bases where the
Uh-huh.
sprinklers are happening in the field. Well, I say field, it's like a patch of grass.
Uh-huh.
And we set up the bases and we play wiffle ball. The sprinklers are hitting us. We're soaked by the end of it. But like,
That's so much fun.
I honestly think that without the digital detox, I wouldn't have been down to do that.
For sure.
And also, I had everyone over. We've had worship nights all
except for me.
together. You're invited next time, I promise. Yes. We've had worship nights, which is amazing. Just like someone plays a guitar and we worship.
For sure.
We've had people
That's
come
sick.
over and just hang out really late. I have not stayed up this late in 1 week since like high school. Like we've
That's
stayed up until midnight, 1:30, just hanging out. Like
so
everyone's off their
crazy.
phones, which Darren was mentioning that if you're doing a detox and you're the only one doing it, it's so much harder.
For sure.
Rather, when everyone's doing it, it's so much easier, and that could not be the farthest from a lie. I mean, that's so true.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone else was on their phone and I wasn't, I would be very tempted to get back on. I'd feel left out.
For sure.
But everyone else is off their
100%.
phone, so we're all very much aware of each other's surroundings. We're very much aware of each other, and we're just hanging out, and it's so much fun.
That's crazy that you say that, because I've been going to sleep so much earlier
Yeah.
than I have ever been on, because I would get home and then it would be like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'd be like, don't have any YouTube to watch, don't have a video game, so I guess I'm just gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the reading that I do is in the morning, whether it's like my Bible or just reading another book too.
Yeah.
And I can't really like focus and like actually like comprehend what I'm reading. Like I can like read it, but like understand and interpret what I'm reading is just not happening that late.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be like, okay, I guess I'm going to sleep, and my day's just gonna start a little bit earlier tomorrow. And I'm
I
actually
guess.
getting like 8.5, 9 hours of sleep, and I'm waking up and I'm like, it's me a good day.
That's awesome.
And I'm already feeling great, already like not being on my phone, so I don't have like everyone else to compare myself to. So I'm feeling good about myself, feeling good about my relationships, because I know everything that I need to know about my people, and I'm not like
Love it.
comparing my relationships. The comparison is actually a huge thing that I didn't
So
think was
true.
going to be the case, because I was like, I'm good with myself.
Yeah.
I'm not good with myself. This is
Yeah, you're just more aware of
for sure.
your own person.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's really you're able to appreciate the things that God made about you that are so different.
So true.
And you don't beat yourself so much about the shortcomings, that
Mm.
you're not comparing yourself to what other people want you to see of them in social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a completely different aspect that I had never seen before, because I've just
Yeah.
grown up always having social media, always wanting to be in the know or wanting to like
Yeah.
be invested in everything.
Yeah.
And I just it's been completely different now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good if I miss whatever's going on Instagram, and if I don't get the playoff highlight in basketball,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm good. My relationship with God is thriving more than ever now.
Mm.
And honestly, if that's what it took, is this detox, like, I'd do it 100 times over again.
Yeah.
And and it's just like 11 days in, and I wasn't able to say that the first couple of days, but now whenever we're like getting through it and we're starting to like, okay, I'm like gonna be living my life. I've gone 11 days, a little bit over a week, and I'm starting to like, okay, I'm feeling good. I can
Mm-hmm.
now like what a lot of the illustration that I've heard is like taking everything out of the closet, taking a second, breathing, and then figuring out what you actually need, and then putting the clothes back that you're actually gonna wear,
Right.
and then clothes that you like but you're not really gonna wear, or maybe it doesn't like look good, or
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel good while wearing it, and just like, do you actually need it?
Yeah.
And so that's been super huge, is like, do I actually need this, or is it
Right.
just like something that I want but
Mm-hmm.
is really just one of the tools that Satan is using against me,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a lot of stuff on my phone,
Yeah.
and it's not. I don't like giving up that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's very comfortable and controllable. It seems like,
100%.
and as soon as I give up that control to God, it's kind of like freaky, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like scary ground, and it's like Darren was talking about this on the retreat, which plug, we can go to that in a second, or
Oh.
maybe not, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But he was saying that like his walk with planning the church, with him and his wife and his kids, has just been like a lamp, and the lamp doesn't really show the entire path.
Mm.
And he made a good point, or someone made a good point, that like, if it did show the entire path, he might not have wanted to take it, just because he would have seen all of the hardships, and that might have scared him away. But
Yeah.
he saw the next step, and he was like, okay, God, I trust you. And it's just like super cool, being able to interpret that and then being able to apply that in my life, where it's like a small thing, where it's like, okay, 1 month out of the 21 years that I've been living so far, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to take away every social media, every distraction. I'm not going to get on YouTube or video games or anything like that. I'm just going to have a phone that does whatever a phone was meant to do
Mm-hmm.
originally. And it's just been insane.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Absolutely. And I would love to hear you touch a little bit on that trip. So, for those of you listening and watching, Chase just went to a retreat with a lot of Church of the City, if not all Church of the City staff.
All staff.
All staff.
All staff.
Okay, so a lot of people from Church of the City
All
went
staff.
to this retreat.
All the big wigs.
I still got to meet some of them.
I know.
Look
I
up-
still do
look,
too.
I
I
look
saw
up
them and I was
to a
like,
lot of them.
I don't know what to talk to you about, so I guess we're just not going to talk. And
Yeah.
this will be great. And we'll figure it out hopefully eventually, but if not, then great.
Yeah, it's like
So,
they're pastors, but they're intimidating.
for
And it's
sure.
like,
Yeah.
can I talk to you? No? Okay,
And
cool,
it's
that's
like
cool.
the only sample size of their life that I've seen is them on stage. So I'm like, okay, well, if I've seen you on stage and this is the only like avenue that I've seen you, then you must just be like this all the time. And you must just
Right.
speak gospel every single conversation you have. And that's not the case. They're actually like normal human beings.
Yep.
And they love talking about God, but they also love having lives and having great conversations that don't always have to revolve around God. Like, they're centered from a person and a soul
Mm-hmm.
that aches for God.
Yeah.
And that is very evident with how they talk, how they treat other people, how they value other people. And it was just like an eye opener. And it was able to like, I was able to get a lot of confidence from that. And I was super nervous coming in, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't talk like these people. I can't go in front of stage 2,000 people and preach truth to these people.
Right.
And like, I've never done this before. What are they going to think of me? And then as time progressed, and we would like stay up late, and we would be like hanging out, and then we would like be playing games and stuff. And the game was really cool. I was able to like see people that I see on stage, and like people that I've been to concerts to, and that I've seen perform in front of hundreds, or not maybe hundreds, but tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
and then they're just like normal people, and
Mhm.
they're just as competitive, if not more competitive as me,
Mhm.
and they're just there for a good time.
Yeah.
And they love God, and they love each other so well and
Mhm.
so much. And it was just like, they're like normal people.
Right.
And it's not like robots that are doing that. And
Right.
eventually I would like to do some sort of vocational ministry, whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
And just, it was a little bit of a confidence boost of like, okay, like I can do this.
Mhm.
Like God can equip me the way that they did with all of these people too. And they're normal people just like me.
Mhm.
So I'm able to, if this is what God has called me to do, which I believe he has, then what's stopping me except for my own doubts? The
Right.
answer is nothing.
Right.
And so,
Exactly. Like you could stop yourself from having an amazing conversation with someone that is head pastor at Trip to the City or is in a big position
for
that
sure.
God wants you to have,
Mhm.
and talk to them about, and that's really cool. And I'm happy that you
It
got
was
to go
so
on that
cool. It
that
was
experience.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was nice. And I didn't have to like work, got to clock in hours for work there, but I didn't have to work. So it was like,
Wow. You got paid to play games and hang out with
I did.
Church to the
I
City
did.
pastors and
And it's
staff.
cool, like,
Wow.
they're the exact same people on stage as they are off of stage. Like,
That's
during that
encouraging.
time, every single session, we worshiped for like 20 minutes beforehand, and then either like Darren, Derek, or Smallbone and Tony
Mhm.
preached as well. And then they had like an hour of they wanted to do like solitude as well.
Mm.
And so it's like whatever they preach about and whatever they would like their congregation to do, they're living it out. And that's super cool to see.
That is exactly what church leadership needs to be doing.
For sure.
Is not
100%.
just say it, but do it.
Mhm.
And I think that applies to not only head pastor and like church leaders' lives, but that applies to all of us. I mean,
For sure.
honestly, like we can say these things. We can talk about this on the podcast. Talk about, oh, it's going to be great to go to New York, and then and do this with these people.
Mhm.
We could totally just go to New York and just not do it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Just be there for the hangs.
exactly.
For sure.
But it's the do that's important.
For sure.
And as Christians, we need to be not just saying, but doing.
For sure.
So, and I think that's really
100%.
important. And just one final thing. What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is a little bit nervous to step into that next step of faith?
Who is this person?
Just anyone.
Okay.
Any one of our listeners or
Okay.
watchers.
Okay. I would say that God's already seen it. He is outside in space and time, and there's nothing that is going to happen in life that's going to shock him, nothing in life that is going to blindside him. He's already seen and approved, and every single thing that has happened has already been sifted through his hands, and he's got you. And he's a father, and he's the perfect father, and there's no way in heaven or hell or on earth that God is going to leave you or betray you, and he's always going to be there no matter what you're feeling, because a lot of times you can be worshiping the feeling of God or like the feeling of the presence of God. But regardless of how you're feeling, if you're having a good day or a bad day or feeling kind of insecure or feeling really good about yourself, God is still closer than the air that you breathe and like the blood inside of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just open up that door, just crack it open a little bit, you will be astonished at what he can do to your life.
Amen. Through the good and the bad, God is always good, and he's got you. He loves you. Well, Chase, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
It's been a blast.
Wow, episode 9. My goodness. So blessed to have you as a friend.
Now.
Thank you so no, stop. One day, God willing. And I'll obviously thank you for everyone watching and listening. Sure. Thank you so much for supporting me. And for those of you who I've actually talked to about it, thank you so much for supporting this podcast. It means the world to me. This is my life, and I want it to be more of my life. And I truly think this is what God has called me to do. So I appreciate all the support for you coming on, for everyone over here listening and helping out. I appreciate all of you. And God loves all of you. And everyone, thank you so much again. And that is a wrap. Woo! Let's go.